You're listening to She's the Business podcast, and today we're sharing with you the story of a freelancer who transitioned to agency owner and is now the owner of a fast-growing, highly successful agency. So stay tuned. You're going to love the behind-the-scenes lessons and learnings of this journey. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, a degree-qualified marketing strategist with over 25 years experience growing businesses and brands all around the world. I now help women who are in a service-based business, coaches, consultants who are really ready to stop dabbling and playing small in their business, step into their authority finally, and create a business that sees them as the sought-after expert with a growing waitlist. Now, this podcast I created because I wanted to bring to you real voices of women all over the world who are just like you, who are growing their business, who have lessons, learnings, insights, and stories to share. So it's a blend of strategy, mindset shifts, health, wealth, wellness, and even spirituality and energy. So you're going to find everything that you need to be successful as an online entrepreneur in these modern times. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. Now, today's guest I'm about to introduce to you is the lovely Emma Tesler, who is CEO and founder of 95 Media. She started 95 Media as a freelance business and transitioned it into an agency while she was actually working full-time. Now, her story is incredible. So I know that you're going to love to hear how she did it. What were the challenges? What does she wish she did sooner or earlier? And her best tips for how to have a really smooth transition, because I know a lot of people are definitely not stuck in the freelancer mode, but are choosing to stay there, even though they know they could grow more if they became a full-blown business. Emma's agency is a digital marketing agency dedicated to creating high-converting content for small businesses. She has more than a decade of experience in the marketing world, specializing in social media and using that as a really powerful tool for growth. Emma's business helps brands connect with their ideal clients, build really engaged communities, and seamlessly convert followers into loyal customers. Without further ado, let me introduce Emma to you. Hi there. So I'm here in the studio with Emma Tesler, who's the CEO and founder of 95 Media. Welcome, Emma. So glad to have you here on the podcast with me today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, likewise. You're in Texas, and interestingly, I was speaking to someone else from Texas just yesterday. So it seems like I've got some connection going on with people from Texas. It's so cool.
It's a good vibe.
Yeah, love it. And so we're really curious to hear more about your story, going from freelancer to an agency owner, basically I'm not going to say freelancing is not a real business, but there's a difference in the kind of business when you actually have more of a business where you're an agency, probably with a team and all of that. So we're going to unpick what's happened, your story and everything about it, because I think there's a lot of people in that space who are freelancers who are, should I rock the boat? Should I change what I've got going that sort of seems to be good? And, whether they take that step or not, I think you're going to have a lot of really great insights for them. But before we do that, I'd love to hear just a bit from you. Can you explain, what do you do now in your agency? Who do you serve? What's your specialization?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder of 95 Media. We are women-owned and operated. Our team is all female social media marketing agency. And what that really means is that we specialize in creating great content that helps our clients' brands scale. So we specialize in social media and email marketing in particular. And really the work that we do is typically working directly with founders who are overwhelmed, who don't know how to really make their social media work for them. And they're ready to pass it off to an agency of experts who can take that fully off their plate so they can focus on the things that only they can do in their business. Because we all know as founders, as business people, like there are certain tasks on our to-do list that we can't delegate, but social media marketing really is one that you can. So we come in, we essentially act as an outsourced marketing department for our clients, handling everything from strategy, concept. We actually fly to them and we shoot content in person every single quarter. We create every single post, manage their community, and really ensure that not only are we getting in front of new people, but we're actually nurturing that audience so that ultimately they convert from consumption to client for the brands that we support.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. It sounds really cool. I love that you fly out and actually film content with them. That just sounds like such a great way. And it's going that extra mile that I think a lot of people aren't doing. And one thing I've noticed so much is when you do take that extra effort, when you do go to those extra lengths that the majority aren't, then that's what creates that really breakthrough impact content, because it has that different feel. It looks different to it, and people respond to it for sure. So I've got a question for you about that, and it's not yet to do with your journey. I'm just curious from a social media agency point of view. What are the signs that someone's ready to hand over their social media management to an agency like yourselves? And what would you say that they should have or know in order to make that a successful transition in? Like, what do they really need to have better down in their business first, so that you guys can obviously do your job to the best ability you can?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think it's a stage of business that a lot of people don't necessarily see coming, but there are a lot of great steps you can take to prepare for it, because the truth is, if you reach your goals, you're going to get to a point where you do need a marketing agency to come in and you're not able to manage your social media on your own, especially if you're the founder trying to do it all. So the first thing I would say is to make sure, you have a brand nailed down. Your branding is in place. You have your messaging is clear. Social media marketing agency's job is not to create your logo. It's not to create who your ideal client is. It's not to create, what kind of emojis your brand aligns with. Like, those are things that really foundationally you need to have as a brand, because they span larger than just your social media. Yeah. That comes through, in your proposals to clients, in your email marketing, in how you may show up at like a networking event. So really making sure that's covered so that you can take that material and pass it to your marketing agency. The other piece is knowing what your goals are. A lot of people come to us and they're like, hey, we really want you guys to come in and create this beautiful content and we want to make more sales and da-da-da. But it's like, okay, well, where do you actually want this to go? Do you want more brand awareness? Do you want to expand who your target market is? So you're like kind of niching into a different group of people. Is it just sales focused? That's cool if it is. But, is it sales for this one big offer, or are you looking for sales with a lot of little offers? And really, the reason that's so important is because your goal is like the goal post that you're working towards. Yeah. So we actually, we utilize what we call the 95 media method. And it's a 4-part process of how we approach the work that we do. Goals is step number 1, because if we don't know the goal, we don't know how to go. Like, we don't know where we're going.
You can't develop your strategy for how to implement the social media if you haven't been given the goalposts. Like, what is it that you're actually trying? I'm so glad that you said, it's like, you might be saying, well, we want to make more sales. It's like, of what exactly? Because that I think is so common that I see in a lot of businesses. They're like, oh, well, I just want more results. I want more revenue, more profit. And you're like, yeah, but you need to be specific about where you want it, because if you're just trying to sell anything and you've got multiple things going on, then all of your efforts just get diluted, because you're doing a little bit here and a little bit there. And you probably sitting there, I see you nodding, you're like, as a social media agency, if you're just given this like blah, scattered kind of plan, like, well, we obviously want to sell all of our things. It's like, yeah, but that's going to be a really scattered social media presence. Like, what, you're going to jump from talking about one thing to the next, and no one's really going to know if you're coming or going and what it is that you're actually saying. So yeah, sorry, segued into that just for a moment, because I so strongly believe in that too. Like, it's really impossible to have a good social media plan if you haven't got your core strategy and the direction sorted. Like give them the goalposts. So sorry, continue the goalposts.
Yeah. No, that was a great addition, because I completely agree. Like the way that you show up on social, clear. Your audience, if they don't know what you're selling, they can't buy it. So if you're just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping something sticks along the way, that's not strategy. And ultimately, that's why you bring in a marketing agency to help build that strategy for you. So what a brand needs to have is, you need to have your goals, right? Like you need to know where you're going. And then your marketing agency will come in and build the strategy aligned with the goal. So they go hand in hand next to one another. Strategy is actually the second step in the 95 media method. And then the third step is execution. Like once your goals are nailed down, once the strategy is built, then you can bring that to life.
Yeah.
But if you start by bringing it to life without those two things, you're going to be spinning because you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
And then the last step of the method is your data. And that's another thing I see a lot of brands just completely ignoring, like blind. I have no idea. What do you mean? Analytics. I have no idea. And it's so funny because like the platforms literally tell you what's working. Like they will break it down for you. And most brands just fully ignore it. So for us as an agency, we are diving in and sending our clients weekly analytics reports, monthly, quarterly. Like those numbers are so important to not only know what's working, but to know what's not working, because what's not working is almost more important.
Yeah.
So to go back to your question about what to have in place, I would say goals are number one, your branding, who you guys are, where you're wanting to go, pass that to your marketing agency, and they should be able to bring that to life for you and generate some really great results.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to have your offer. Like this is what we want to sell. Like you guys can't create results if they haven't even got an offer that's working and figured out what it is that they want to sell. What is your brand? Who are you? What are you about? Like all of that you guys need, because then you can build the social media strategy that comes from it. And it's so funny, you said about data, just to add in another little piece there, because I think what happens is a lot of people look at a number like sales and they go, oh, it's not working. And it's like, no, actually, your social media is working in terms of people are engaging, they're doing this. They may not be buying, but that might not be the social media's strategy's fault. That's actually like, you've got a crappy offer. Your offer actually isn't working, right? So it's like, you need to know not only the data, but also really, and this isn't hard, it's really just breaking it down to a deeper level and understanding what does it mean? So when you have the data from your social media, you can go, oh, well, tick, it is actually meeting the criteria and what we need it to do, which is bringing the people across. If then they're not taking that next step or the final step, it's not the social media's fault. And this is where I see so many people go, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. I was like, well, it didn't work because you didn't make the sale in the end. But actually, when you look at what you were doing here at this part, it was working. And I see so often that people, really tar an experience, ads. Oh my God, ads, they're not working. I'm like, no, they did work. They sent people through. You didn't convert the people from the ads. That's more, yes. Or maybe you were sending the ads to the wrong people because you didn't have your targeting nailed down before you did the ads. So, like you say, the data, 100%, I so agree with everything you've said. It is really important. It's not hard and it's not a lot of numbers, but it's just like, please don't think that you don't need to know what the numbers mean, because you do need to know if you're making these decisions and you're deciding where to invest. Like, do I invest in social media with an agency? Well, yeah, if you can, and you need to know what that's worth and what it's doing and what the outcomes are that it's meant to provide, because that is not the whole story of the making the sale. There's all these other elements that are involved in it, and you can have the best social media agency in the world creating awesome content. If your offer sucks and is shit, it's just not going to work, and you can't blame the social media for that. It's not its fault. You've got to have all the pieces in place and know what the investment is.
Yeah, I mean, we see that a lot. The job of social media is ultimately to get people to like a sales page typically. So, it might be to book a sales call, or it might be like if sales call, if you're in service, a product page, if you're in e-commerce, like those are probably like the two most common places you're trying to drive traffic. And there have been a lot of times when there's thousands of people landing on those pages and conversion is not happening. So yes, you have to go back and you have to look at your audiences. But then if your audience is checked out and you're targeting the right people, then really it's likely a website issue, or it's a conversion problem with your copy or your messaging or your visuals, or sometimes like links are broken on your website. And I can't tell you how many times that has happened. And we bring that up to the client and we're like, okay, well, what are your website analytics saying? Like, where are people falling off? What's the hot heat map saying? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, okay, so how many people are going to this landing page? Like, let's pull up your Google Analytics. I don't have Google Analytics. So it's mind-blowing to me how yes, we're literally running blind in a business that is supposed to be, funding your lifestyle, and not only you, but probably a team. I just, having clarity on your numbers across your business is so important. And it's not just the numbers that maybe a marketing agency is feeding you. Like, you should be looking at your numbers on things like your website that are happening behind the scenes all of the time on your own. So I would really encourage business owners to be like, get in tune with your numbers, because your numbers tell you the story. And sometimes it is one number that's a little off that's impacting everything else. And you could be pouring thousands of dollars a month into everything else, but that one thing is preventing, those sales from ultimately happening. So having clarity there is really key.
So true. There's and as we said before, it doesn't have to be a lot. Like, you can just keep track of what I would call the key metrics. So, got like a basic dashboard that I use and that my clients use, where it's like, okay, you want to have these high level numbers that you're just monitoring. And as soon as one is off, that's the sign to go, okay, why is this off? And then you can go deeper into that one. It's not like you've got to be across all of these data points every week and every month, but you do need to be across your business, across the data points of your business, and go, right, that's going to keep me, the signals saying everything's fine. And when there's a light flashing, that's when you start investigating and you go down to the deeper level to see what's gone wrong there. So, I know a lot of women in particular. I talk to lots of creative women who are just like, oh, numbers, and they're like, that's not me. And I relate. I'm a creative type as well, but the clarity that's in the numbers is just something that I think is really worthwhile us even saying this right now in this episode. It's like, you get so much clarity in the numbers. And what it also does is it removes your emotion from it, because we'll often take a meaning from a number and be like, that's not working. I don't like it, or blah, blah, blah. But it's like, hang on, let's when you look at numbers, you actually get the real story of what's happening and where it is working, where it isn't working. Usually there's lots of things that are working. There's just one bit that isn't. So when you take the time to go, right, we're going to have our numbers, and once you've sorted out what they are and how to track them, it's really easy. Like, it doesn't take us a few minutes. You have them there. You can look at them and be like, yep, they're all on target, or, oh, this one I need to look at. It's going to tell you why. So you don't have to be relying on your feelings and your emotions of like, oh, I just felt like that didn't land. Well, sometimes the crappiest post I've done where I'm like, oh, this isn't, I've just thrown it up there. Or I remember one day I did an ad with a photo I'd taken on the beach, and my hair was flying in the wind like crazy. And I looked like this insane woman who's probably stuck her finger in the electric plug or something. But that photo did so much better than the same copy with a more professional photo. And I was like, isn't that interesting? I would have thought people would look at it and think, oh, this isn't very professional, or who is she, or whatever. But they actually engage with it more. So sometimes the data will tell you things that actually show you the truth, and not just what your perception is in your brain, which is often trying to trick you or make you think things. It's usually very critical of yourself, right?
Totally. And that, honestly, that happens a lot. Sometimes our clients will be like, I don't know, guys, like, that's kind of crazy post. And we're like, trust us. Like, I know this looks weird, but like, it's gonna hit. And they usually do hit. And then the ones that, sometimes founders will come to me and be like, I just like, these are easy for me. I get them up. They're what I'm able to do right now. And like, your audience doesn't like them. Like, it's just not connecting. So I think it is so important to just like listen to the analytics, but ultimately you're listening to your audience, and your audience is the metric that is the most important because they're the people who are going to buy from you. The algorithm is going to keep changing. The algorithm is going to favor different things here and there. But if your audience is connecting with the content, that is what matters at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly. Like the algorithm is always going to change. So I'm like, you know, it's not like about chasing the algorithm or trying to always be in with the algorithm, because I think when you have that sort of content that transcends it, that people are connecting with, those changes in the algorithm aren't going to have significant impacts on you. You're going to be still connecting with them. And I think that's ultimately what they all are trying to do. So whether they change the algorithm one day or the next, they all want your audience connecting with your content. Every single platform wants to keep people on the platform. So they're always going to favor the type of content people are engaging with. And that's where, you know, what you said, it's like, that is your barometer. Like, are people connecting? Stop worrying about what the algorithm's doing day to day, because they change it all the time. Like it's, I think it's like, it's such a, you can just be on a never ending chase to, if you're always thinking like, what's the algorithm doing now? What's it doing now? It's like, forget about it. Just focus on good content that people are engaging with and you're going to be fine. Well, that's my opinion anyway. You're definitely the expert here in the social media, but we have had a really great little tutorial or synopsis into social media. I've loved this chat so much. Really great stuff that you said here, because I think, you know, we've raised a few important things people often aren't thinking about, especially when they're thinking about social media and, you know, what you really need to have in place. Again, so important if your social media is going to work. And that's regardless of whether you're hiring an agency or doing it yourself. If you haven't got those foundational things nailed, that's why your social media isn't working. Like, bottom line. And you do need to have them in place to successfully outsource, because then your agency can run with it. They can create amazing content that really does work. But tell us a bit about you, particularly your story. You started off as a freelancer. Were you freelancing in social media before you started the agency? Tell us a bit about your story.
Yeah, I was. I actually, I started 95 Media, which it was under a totally different name. It was literally just me when I was in college, actually. And I was going to college for a totally different career that I thought was like my dream career. I thought that would be what I would do for the rest of my life. I was like, I'm obsessed. It was actually interior design, which is like the literal opposite of marketing. And I fell into social media marketing at an internship for a designer, and she wanted to start her Instagram. And she was like, I hear people are doing this. And this was 2015. So no one was really using social in the way we are now. But I got started and I was just kind of like digging into it. And I was like, wait a second, there's a lot of opportunity here. I'm obsessed. This is obviously snowball. This is like becoming something. I could see where it was going. So I started freelancing after the internship for that client. She's actually still a client today, 10 years later. It's really crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. And so I started freelancing and just taking on clients here and there. And I did freelancing for 5 years. And so at that time, while I was freelancing, I had hired contractors to help me because I was also working full time. And we became an agency almost by accident because I just realized I can't do all of this by myself. I have to hire someone to like do certain things during the workday that I'm not able to do. And then she couldn't do everything. So I hired another person to do other things. And I was like, okay, well, I need to hire someone else to do this. And I hired as we grew. And that's how the agency sort of got its footing. And then in COVID, that was sort of the year, 2020 was the year where I was like, I have to see what I can make of 95 Media if I want to keep doing this, because I was drowning. I was working like 100-hour weeks between my full-time job and building the agency. And it was a lot. And I'm so like happy I did it then, because I can't do that now. Like I would literally die if I tried to do that now. But I was really young and I was like, okay, well, I have nothing but time. I'm just going to put everything I have into this. And so in 2020, I left my corporate job. I went all in on building 95 Media, and we changed contractors to employees, and we've just built a real company in the past 5 years. But starting as a freelancer, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it when you're doing it on your own. You're solely responsible for pretty much everything across the company, and it's all you. But I think it's really rewarding at the same time to be that freelancer for your clients, because it is on you. And so you really have that level of satisfaction being on your own.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think were the biggest challenges? You mentioned that you started hiring people while you were still technically freelancing. So, what were the biggest challenges that you went from being a solopreneur, like having just yourself as a freelancer, to bringing on your first hire? What was it that you think in that time you found challenging, maybe about bringing someone else on, the risk that you felt, and then obviously the benefit outweighed in the end because you decided to go ahead and do it? But yeah, share a bit about that.
For me, it was two big things. One is managing people. That, is difficult at any season of your life. But I made my first hire when I was 22 years old. Like, I didn't know anything. I still don't know anything. Like, no one knows anything. We're all like figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
And my first hire, she was in her 40s. She was a mom looking for part-time work. Like, we were in very different stages of our life. Just like how, if you hire someone in your business, you're probably at different stages of your life. And I was like, okay, I need these deliverables by this date, and some things would be missed. And it's like, okay, well, how do you manage things that are getting missed along the way? And managing people, that was very difficult, especially as it became multiple people. But I think now, where I am looking back, I realize now you're always managing people, and there's always new challenges that come with it. So it never really ends, but you just get better at leading, and you get better at management, you get better at conflict resolution. So that was definitely a big challenge that I wasn't prepared for. And the second one was really came down to like communication, because as a freelancer, if you have contractors working for you, you're likely funneling everything they're doing through yourself, and then you're the point of contact for your client. And so we got to a point where I think we had like 6 contractors, and I was managing like 20 clients on my own. It was too much. And so that was the point where I was like, okay, what are we doing here? I can't keep doing this. It was just a lot of communication to be managing. And then at the end of the day, it started to feel like we were playing telephone. And I was like, okay, I have to like translate everything the client is telling me to the contractor, and then vice versa backwards.
Yeah.
So that was a big focus.
That's not good.
Yeah, it was difficult, and things get lost in translation along the way. As we moved into having employees, we completely restructured everything, and the employees are now the point of contact for our clients. But that's definitely a challenge when you're a freelancer, is just managing everything across the board, especially as like your client load grows.
Yeah, and I think that you've probably raised, I think, the 2 biggest sticking points that a lot of freelancers feel that sort of keeps them in the freelancing space because they worry about that. They're like, well, my clients come to me because they want to work with me. That's the one thing, right? So they kind of go, well, and then they get to this capacity ceiling where you got to, you're like, I cannot keep track of 20 clients. I think kudos to you for keeping track of 20 clients. I remember when I had, I think, 8 coaching clients one-to-one at the one time, and I'm like, I'm keeping track of 8 different people's businesses as well as my own. My brain is exploding. But I did have 2 young kids as well, so you can imagine there's like a brand newborn and a 3-year-old. It was like hectic. My mind was completely nailed by that. I think that's one of the things that people, I think, worry about the most, is that, like, well, what would happen if I do step away and someone else comes in, and they really feel like the detachment is hard. What have you found in being able to do that? Obviously it's a big step when you brought in your staff members and then had them being the account manager with the client. How have you found that transition, and what made it easy for you to do that?
Well, I went through exactly what you just talked about, where when you're starting as a freelancer, clients are signing because of you. Like, you are the business, you are the selling point. So that is the truth. Like, they did sign to work with you because they were having access to you and your brain and how you do things. So I don't think it's like an overnight transition by any means. I'm trying to think back how we exactly did it. I think the process was introducing like, hey, this is the person who's on your account. Like, they're going to be CC'd on emails, but I'm still managing communication. Maybe they'll jump in on an email here and there. They're going to be on your monthly meeting, but like, I'm still leading the monthly meeting. And then we just like slowly transition and we're like, okay, Ashley, why don't you jump in here? Why don't you like tell the client how things are going, until we got to the point where they were fully leading the meetings, they were answering all the emails, etc. But I always, whenever there's a transition, I like to address it head on with the client. So I'm fairly certain we sent out emails to be like, hey, look, we're like, this is your account manager. We're so excited that she's on the account. Here like are her credentials. She's been doing X, Y, and Z. Here's her specialties. We have assigned her to you specifically because of how much value she's going to bring to you. And when you position your team as the value, then the client is less scared, because if they're more valuable than you are, then amazing. But what I think a lot of founders get scared in is, it's so funny because you build this team to provide the value to the client. And then as a founder, you feel like, oh my God, like if I let go though, who am I? And your value is wrapped up in your business, and it's wrapped up in the clients coming to you and saying, great job. If you can start detaching from that early, you'll be more successful in the long run, because you won't feel like I have to get back in and I have to do X, Y, and Z because the client's going to like miss me. Meanwhile, the client's not missing you. Like, the client's happy. The client's good with your team member doing all the things. Like, they're fine and they're supported. And it's that transition of role where you step away from delivery and you step into leadership that can be really difficult. A lot of founders don't prepare themselves for. Like, it's hard to prepare for something you've never done. But it's really good once you're like through it, and it's hard to start that journey, is my own personal experience.
But I think, you just mentioned why. It's because sometimes you think of it as like a sharp change, and that would feel really hard, I think, for everybody, for yourself, for the client. But the way that you described how you did it, it's like, that makes sense. And it's going to almost be like a natural evolution, that the client's not going to feel anything except like, this is great. And, they're talking to their account manager, the person who's working on it, that all that trust has been conveyed. And, the trust they had in you initially when they signed up has been transferred over to the account manager through the transition process. So it's like, when you do it like that, I think easy. But interestingly, you also mentioned it's your own attachment to the client, to the feedback, to feeling like you've done it. I think that's actually what is beneath the surface. And most people don't even really realize that that's why that they kind of, their subconscious pulls away from this idea of being able to bring on somebody else to support them, because I think, we have an attachment to that, and that's totally normal. I think almost everybody would have experienced that. Understanding it, seeing it, then being aware of it is really the first step to being able to detach, so that you can step into a leadership place and know that your value isn't diminished or different. It's just different. It's being provided in a different way. You're now leading this team, and when you've been able to bring your team on and coach them in how you do things as your way, they're really just an extension of you anyway, and that's what your value kind of becomes, doesn't it?
It's a shift in where you get your validation, I think, because when you're a freelancer, you get validation from the client, and when you're an actual leader, you kind of have to give validation to yourself, because no one's really going to give it to you. But I find a lot of reward from watching our team grow. So yes, like watching our clients grow is so rewarding, but the real impact that like I personally make these days is within our team and within the company itself. So it's just restructuring like, what's my impact and what's really my role here? Because if you stay stuck, is how I look at it. If you stay stuck in delivery, you, like you said, you are going to max out. You can only make so much impact because you're one person.
Yeah.
But if you can teach everyone else how to do the things you do really well and create material that's going to support them in their own growth and delivery and careers ultimately, then your impact is actually like quadrupled. And how beautiful is that? Because now you get to make, so many more people successful. And that's really cool.
Exactly. And it's like the more you can grow, the more people you can actually help. So your impact grows as you grow. And really, you are the number one bottleneck. Like if you're holding on to everything, trying to do it all yourself, you are the bottleneck. You are the problem. You're the thing that's creating the ceiling that doesn't need to be there, because that's a beautiful thing. I think about owning your own business, being in your own spaces, that there is an unlimited possibility, unlimited potential, except the limits that you place on it yourself. The question I want to ask you now is about that. Like when someone goes, okay, I'm ready to start looking at making a transition. What would be, looking back now, like with all your hindsight on your first hires that you made and the people you brought onto the team, what do you think is the best first role to look at, bringing someone else in to do?
Well, I have two opinions and they're probably like butting heads against each other. But number one, I think it's the things that are like the lowest hanging fruit. So for me, my very first hire was community management. It's like a very manual job. It's a set amount of time every day. It had to happen during a certain number of certain times of the day. And that's why I couldn't do it when I was working full time. It was just like, okay, this actually isn't like that strategic. I can give really clear instructions. I can give really clear deliverables and outlines and expectations. So I would start with like, what honestly takes like the least brain power, because that will be easy for you to give instructions on and to take how you do it out of your brain and put it on paper. I kind of look at it as like, that scene in Harry Potter where they take the wand and they pull the memory out of their brain and they put it into that little bath. That's how I look at it, is like, you have to take that process out of your brain. So what's going to be like the quickest process to pull out and give to somebody else?
Yeah.
That to me, like that's the easiest hire, and probably like the things you have to get off your plate because you don't need to be doing those things. And at the same time, a hire I wish I had made sooner, looking back, is an operations project management role. We actually didn't make that hire until early last year, and it has been the most transformational hire in my own job, like the work that I do, because I didn't realize that I was literally like the CEO, the COO, the CMO. Like I was like literally doing so many different jobs, which is normal as the CEO, but wasn't sustainable because I wasn't able to keep scaling the business because I was so in operations. I wasn't in delivery, I was in operations. So now we have someone on our team who handles all the operations, a bit of the project management. Her role's moving more into project management this year. And that has just freed up my time to really look at the business on a higher level. So it may not be the first hire you make by any means, but it should be, in my opinion, an earlier hire than, where I made it, because in my opinion, it will allow you to take a farther step back and see the business for what it really is, rather than to see like all the broken pieces that you constantly have to fix and the processes you have to improve and all of that good stuff. Like if you can bring someone in to fix those things alongside you and be your right-hand person, while you then also have someone in delivery, you're just going to scale so much faster because your efforts are going to compound.
Yeah, exactly. And those things do take time, when you're building the structure, managing the project, you're managing all the people and what's happening and all the deadlines. It's a lot. And like you say, it doesn't necessarily have to be you that does it. Someone else could do it equally as well. And probably, given that if they're that type of person who's really great at it, they're probably going to do it even better, because I think most people who are entrepreneurs, who are the founders, are more of the visionary person. They're like, you bring the energy, you bring the vision, you bring this is what we're doing. And while, yes, we can absolutely do that project management as well. I think there are certain types of people who like absolutely excel at that, but they're not necessarily the visionary. There's different personality types I think are really well suited to roles. I love it. The low hanging fruit, and even think, broadly as well, like there's the low hanging fruit in what you're doing for your clients. Like how can you shift some stuff that's taking up time in your day that you don't need any particular skill. It doesn't actually need to be you doing it. I love that you said it's the stuff that's really easy, step by step. You can explain it, you can give it to someone. And that's awesome. And there's also, for me, it was things like, well, even though I can do my accounting and my books, I can do all the transactions at the end of the month. I don't really need to do that. Like that can easily be somebody else doing it. It was like, what's it? And if there's a stuff that maybe you don't love that you're doing that you can offload. But even I think the other thing is sometimes, this is a tricky one, like the stuff you do love, but it's maybe you're not that proficient at it. So it might be the thing that, it's like your guilty pleasure that you actually love doing. For me, that's design stuff. Like I like getting in Canva and messing around and creating things. Am I the best at it? No. Am I the fastest at it? Definitely not. So it's like finding those things that maybe you're choosing to do because you enjoy them. And it's kind of that, to me, is a really interesting place to look at. Well, are you really the best person to be doing it? I'm not saying don't ever do it, because maybe you will go, well, I'm just going to take this on, but you're choosing then to do it and knowing that it's probably taking you longer than it would take someone else. It's always your choice then, but that can be a place where you really are becoming a bottleneck and using your time not as effectively as what it could be used.
Those are the hardest jobs to delegate are the ones you love. And you like hit the nail on the head. It's what you love, but you're not great at. And I've found that for those things, I just get really intentional about what I keep on my plate to like fill that bucket for me. So for example, for that client that we started 10 years ago and we still work with today, I personally still do the work for her because it's so rewarding to me. I'm like, this is so fun. Like, I just love her. I love the work. I know the work like the back of my hand. And it's like such little time because I've done it for so long. It's like, okay, let's just get this through and it's fun and enjoyable, but it's not like just because I do that for one client doesn't mean I do it for all of the clients.
Yeah.
It's recognizing where you can jump in, get your bucket filled, and then step back. But that's really why I didn't hire an operations person for so long, because you said most founders are visionary types. I am so like a technical delivery person. Like I love being in the weeds. I love processes, which is like to my detriment almost because I kept them on my plate for so long. And then once we brought her in to manage that, I was like, oh my gosh, I could have had all this time back to begin with. Like imagine what we could have done if I wasn't writing SOPs for 8 years. So you kind of look back and you're like, wow, okay, that could have been someone else. So I completely agree. Finding those things and recognizing it and letting it go anyway is hard, but necessary.
Yeah, exactly. And, no one's ever going to get it perfect or 100% right. That's part of being human. That's part of the evolution. And I think we wouldn't be anywhere if you couldn't look back with hindsight and go, oh, okay, well, I would do things differently if I was going to do it again. Yeah. It's like, that's okay. Like, I just want to say, do what you feel is great. Take these insights on, it's just an opportunity, I think, to ask yourself the question, am I sitting there doing something that it's not to my business's best interest for me to be doing it? As in, it's a low-level task. You can hire someone, that doesn't need to be a specialist. They just need to be someone who's, got some attention span and competent, that can take it on and take a giant amount of weight off your plate. Then it's like, you should be earning more in that time you've now gained back, way more, like multiple times of what you're paying the person to do the thing. So those are the ones that I look for, where it's like, this is an obvious first step. And like you say, yeah, it might be scary to start, but if you bite the bullet and do it, you're probably going to look back and go, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, oh my goodness, look at what I've just gained. And I think you also mentioned as well, I think this is the other real key, that can sometimes turn that experience into something negative. I've had people say to me, oh, well, I tried hiring and it was a disaster. It's like, it's only a disaster if you don't take the time to find the right person to really get the right mesh with you and your style, and that, you know, you're going to work and communicate well together. And secondly, that you don't brief them properly. Like, that is the number one thing. I find people expect someone to kind of come in and just do it the same way they were doing it. There's going to be an onboarding process. There's going to be a learning process for them. You've got to be willing to get into that and be like, yeah, I know they're not going to get it exactly the same as me right from day one, but they will get it closer if you've created your SOP, your operating procedure. Like, here are the exact steps that I want you to follow. Or the amount of like error or mistake that they'll make will be so much smaller than if you've been vague and if you've kind of just thrown something at them and gone, here, you go and run with it. So I think there's a lot on, you know, we have to take responsibility as the leader, as a manager of someone, bringing someone into the team. It's not just you throwing something off your plate, like, you are still involved. And even if, I think you're hiring an agency, wouldn't you say, like, you know, the client hires an agency, they're taking a lot of stuff off your plate with social media management. But you're still involved. That doesn't mean that you just get to turn that off and go, I never have to think about it again. It's like, they can't do a good job if you're not connected and involved as well. So it's a change in what you're doing, and definitely you can take a lot of time and effort off your plate. But, you know, you've still got to think, even though I'm hiring that person, I'm hiring them in to help me in my business. You've still got a responsibility to A, help them do a good job, and B, that you're still connected and involved with it. Otherwise, you know, it is a recipe for disaster if you approach it any other way. That's my opinion anyway. But
I mean, it's our job as founders to set our people up for success, right? So we have to know how to do it, write it down, set the expectation, and then go. We literally have an online course that we put everyone, like our whole team, through. It's called our dashboard. It's like, okay, well, the answer's in the dashboard, go. Like, everything we do is in the dashboard. And it's like this working file that we've had for 5+ years now. And I don't know what we would do without it, because if you say the same thing over and over again as a founder, you're like, I keep telling you how to do this. Like, why aren't you getting it? It's like, well, why don't you document it and like let them go do it on their own time, because people learn different too. We have a lot of things like as video tutorials, and we also have them written. And then if you want to get on a meeting with leadership, you can get on like talk to someone else. I think, it's just our responsibility. If you're going to give this to somebody else to do it, you have to tell them how. You have to set them up to be successful in that role.
And it's, you know, and people go, oh, well, that's going to take time to do it. I know that's the initial challenge, right? But the thing is, it doesn't actually have to, because the next time you're doing that task, just record yourself doing it. Like, there are tools, you know, the two go-tos I think that a lot of people use, and I'm sure that there are many more that I haven't even heard of, but the classic one that people have used for years and years is Loom. You just literally turn on Loom and it records your screen while you're doing something. You can talk it through. You can say, look at this and go here, and you can give the instructions. So I've used Loom for 9 years now with my people in my team. And the other one I found recently, I'm not sure if you've tried this one, Scribe. I think it's called Scribe. So Scribe records your screen and actually creates a document for you. So it takes the screenshot and it goes, you've now clicked on this button, and now you've clicked here and you've done this. And it actually puts it into a step-by-step instruction manual. I was like, amazing. How incredible is that? You can go in and obviously edit it and remove some of the steps, especially if you've clicked on something that you didn't mean to and all of that. You can edit it, but it just has made that process so fast. And I think, gosh, the amount of time we used to spend actually writing SOPs and trying to download it out of our brains, it was hard. It was a challenge, I'm not going to lie. You don't have to do that anymore. You literally can just do the actions, and the tech creates your procedure for you, which I love. So good. Do you have any tools that you like to use in particular that help with
you? We use Loom a lot. I have used Scribe in the past. We're also using AI for so much now. So you can even just like tell chat, like write an SOP for this task, and then take what it gives you and edit it down, obviously personalize it from there. So ultimately, Scribe is AI. I think it was like the early days of AI integrated that no one really realized it was AI. But I think chat is just like a great way to also take things out of your brain and put them on paper.
Yeah, especially when it's using a system that's kind of like a generic system out there, how do you do X, Y? You can do that. I think where I would use something like Scribe or Loom now is where it's quite personalized to your business. Like, this is a procedure I've created for my community, for example. So I want you, when this happens, I want you to do this and blah, 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 blah. That's where you kind of need a custom one, because AI is not going to be able to know what you want to do. Like, exactly. When someone joins, add the tag, what tag, that, like, AI is not going to be able to read your mind and give you that. But, there is so many really great tools where you can just go through once. It takes you minutes, literally a couple of minutes, and you've got a fully custom that's very specific to your business SOP, which, like you say, you create. We've got like a library for ours, an online, a place. Actually, mine's in Kajabi, so it's a little bit like a course as well for my team. And everything we create, it's like whenever there's something new, okay, it goes in there, and now that's where you look for how to do anything. So, it does actually can become really easy when you've just got a few tips and insights on those sort of things. Because like you say, you will go drive yourself insane if you're telling someone how to do the same thing over and over. Or every time a new person comes, you're like, oh, we'll start it all again. It's like, no, you can send them to what you created and make it easy. So good, Emma. This has been great. I love your approach to social media. It sounds like you've built an amazing business and agency. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What an awesome transition. And I wish I'd done it at the age that you did. It's so good. I'm excited for you. It's really amazing. Where can people reach out if they want to connect with you and learn more about 95 Media? Where do you
Well, thank you for having me. This is so fun. We touched on some really good stuff, but our website is 95media.co, all spelled out, NINETYFIV media.co. We're most active on Instagram. It's 90.5.media, again, all spelled out. And that's a great place. Send us a DM, send us an email from the website. We also have a podcast where we talk about all things marketing and sort of like a behind the scenes of the business. Mm-hmm. It's called Stop Scrolling, Start Scaling. So that's a great resource if you're wanting more on that side of things as well.
Oh, amazing. So good. We'll make sure we've got all of that linked up in the show notes, so you can just drop down and click on the links. Thank you for sharing that. Love that you have a podcast as well. And don't forget that Emma will be in She's the Business community. So if you're in the community, then you can create a post. You've got a question you want to ask, something that you're interested in talking about, or maybe you just even want to give your opinion about something that we've talked about today. We'd love to hear from you. So make sure that you do that. We love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And also, if you're not in She's the Business community yet, then please join. It's absolutely free. It's for people who listen to the podcast. And now you've been listening to us for quite a while, over 45 minutes. So, obviously, it would be a great place for you if you've enjoyed this chat today. You get to meet all of our great guests. We do some special things that are just in there that other people aren't getting. So come along and join. The links in the show notes for the community as well. So thank you so much. We'll be back again next week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.